In the side-by-side world, side-by-sides are represented by two separate and equally important groups: the manufacturers that build the machines and the gearheads that modify them. These are their stories.
Seen on the time lapse that we got the cage off, basically left the seats, left the harnesses. The exhaust is still up. Now if you have an aftermarket exhaust, it's probably going to drop. You'll have to put one back in it to move it. All your bolts. We're going to go ahead and pull the machine out, and we're going to take all the accessories off the cage, the roof, the mirror, and really I guess that's about it. And that's done, and then we'll go ahead and install the winch, and we might play with a couple other things here today. But I knew the cage takes 10 minutes, especially if you know where everything's at. You got some little tabs here that hold the fender. It's welded to the cage. You got a cover. You got two bolts here, two bolts here. These are the main bolts that hold the cage. And you come up here, you got two right here, two on the other side, two right here, two on the other side, and then you got right there in the middle, you got two big bolts that are structure bolts, and then you got two little plastic tab bolts. They're nothing for the cage, but you still have to undo them. But other than that, the cage comes right off. You just got to make sure with this machine that you lift the cage up like this and back, and then you can come back over the top with the cage, because this bar is hooked in back there by the exhaust, so you have to unhook it out of there. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this machine out, and yeah, we'll time lapse pulling the rest of it apart. So we got everything off the cage. It's bare. It's ready to go to get sandblasted. And we're gonna get this out of here, and we'll bring the machine back in here, and you'll see a winch going on it. Maybe a couple other things. All right, guys. So here's the winch. Let me find a knife here. There's a knife. We'll get this cut open here. So I believe it's KFI Winch with synthetic rope. That's what I got on my machine. Yeah. We got KFI Winch mount for Honda Talon, and a 5,000 pound Assault Series KFI Winch with synthetic rope. Let's try to mount. There's the winch. So we'll go ahead and open this sucker up. Now I like KFI winches. They're on the cheaper side of a decent winch, and I've been running it for about, I don't know, 3 years. Yeah, 3 years now, and really like it. It does come with a hand control, which I don't ever really hook up. Should also come with a pre-wired switch. Yeah, so it comes with a pre-wired switch with in and out. I don't know if you can see that in the package there, but a universal mounting plate it comes with. Well, there it is. AS50 KFI Assault. So the Assault is all black and it comes with synthetic rope. I think that's the only difference. So I'm not going to pull everything out of the box because we're not ready for it, but we're going to go ahead and install this. And yeah, I guess I could open this. Winch mount for you. The one I think that ties the winch into the bumper, the factory bumper, which I think's kind of cool. So let's see if we can show you here. Yeah, so it just ties it into the bottom of the bumper. Pretty cool. Just two pieces here, a couple little brackets. But we'll go ahead and get the stuff opened up and set up a time lapse, and we'll show you that. Okay, so we got this mounted in here. It's all mounted in here. It's a pretty nice mount. It all mounts into the bumper, gives you some longer bolts, reinforces the frame area with this bracket here. Overall, pretty nice. So we're gonna go ahead and time lapse this going back on the machine, and we'll see you there. Alright guys, so as you see, she's all mounted. She looks nice. Really tucks in there. It's really a nice install. Yeah, no, it's not bad. So we're not going to do the wiring today because when we get the cage back, there's a whole lot of wiring that we have to do on things we're going to add. We're going to add interior light bar, probably some rear lights, some whips, different stuff like that. So fuse block, so it'll all be on its own power system. I don't like tying any aftermarket wiring, like for your lights and stuff like that, into your factory wiring. These machines go through enough and don't need any more added help to have wiring issues down the road. So just I buy a cheap fuse block, and you know, we'll show that, but just buy a cheap fuse block and put a relay to the switched power, and that will supply power to the fuse block, and that'll feed everything else, to where if you're out riding, you ain't ever got to worry about your, you know, if somebody wired it in wrong, your light bar being on too long, pop something that caused your machine to stop running, you know. So just like to narrow out all those problems and not have them. So all right guys, so we got the Talon back in here, set the cage back on, got it back from the sandblaster. He's got it all sandblasted up here, looking pretty good. Bronco is in the process of doing a dash relocation, which we'll show you all that when we get there, but he's pulling that out, and yeah, needless to say, he's got her pretty ripped apart under there. But I am notching tubes for the roof. We're gonna go ahead and put a bar from here to here, and then a foot over there will be another bar. So yeah, we're just now starting to mess with it, playing around with it. So I guess you want to go ahead and open up this box, Bronco?
Sure.
Go ahead and cut that off. I don't want your address on here, but go ahead. I'll just back up here. Bronco with a knife probably isn't a good thing.
This came from a guy on Honda side-by-side club.
Yeah, and you said it's 3D printed?
3D printed. These came as PDF file. I just printed those up.
Okay, so it shows you what wire you have to extend?
Yeah, there's 2 wires that need to be extended. They're all included.
Okay.
And then he puts these 3 screws will go back into the 5-place.
Okay, so this is to fill in
The existing hole.
We'll go over here with that. All right, guys, so this switch panel here goes up here and fills in where the cluster used to be. Oh, there's the cluster right there. Cool. So yeah, that piece will go up there, and then the back side.
Give me that.
The back side is the box for the.
Yeah, this will be the pod that relocates to above the steering column.
Go ahead and take it apart, and we'll show them over there.
Yeah.
All right, so inside there had this nice Talon keychain too, pretty cool. 3D printed. Bronco forgot how to use a flat tip screwdriver, so give him a minute. By the way, this is Will's dad, the voice behind the camera normally. So what is this for?
This
Oh, it goes right in that hole.
This screw is removed,
And that's what screws it down?
and then there's a screw in there that's just a tick longer, and this becomes your pod.
So is that the only
relocation.
mounting point for it? Is it
No,
one?
there's 2 more screws that go into this piece of plastic here,
Oh.
just to square it up and keep it stabilized so it doesn't pivot.
Okay, so it locks it down pretty good then?
Yeah, and once I remove, there's a back cage. There's 3 screws to take off the whole bracket for the column.
Yeah, I see them right here. Yeah, so you remove these 3 screws, and then this.
Keep these in place. When you take your pod out,
Well, that thing's pretty sealed up, so it'll just, this whole face will just slide right in there?
yes,
Yeah, so that sucker is just gonna go right into there. Here, you can go ahead and pull that off real quick.
sure. And I would use these screws to put the pod back in the bezel that he created. I use his screws. He supplies 3 screws for this plate to get screwed into this.
Yeah, right.
And it's all standoff, so it sits flush on the inside. You don't have any...
Oh, so now that piece mounts to this, and that's what makes the switch panel?
Yeah, and you don't have any screws from the front.
Okay, so you won't see nothing.
Right.
Okay.
And then you just simply remove this.
That doesn't unplug from there?
Yes.
Oh, it does.
And then you just reach in here. There's a little thumb tab. And this completely comes out.
Nice.
On these plugs, you're going to find they're very easy to do. There's one thumb plug on the part that remains in the vehicle.
Yeah, look at this unit. It's pretty sealed up.
Yes.
So it's just a drop-in now.
Actually, it's not sealed. These are vents
Really?
to let out any condensation.
Moisture, okay.
And then this simply fits in here. And like I said, I'm going to use the stock screws from this.
Yeah.
And the screws he supplies, I will use for this replacement bezel.
Yeah, so it just squeezes in there. And that sucker's going to look nice sitting on top of this. I think any machine with a cluster should have it right in front of the speedometer in the first place.
Other companies produce this, but they're made out of metal and they're powder coated and they attach here.
Okay, so it's up here more normally?
No, it's kind of down there, but they're pinned
Starts
here.
up here, okay.
And the metal is pinned into here.
Yeah, no, I like that with the paddles right
looks
there.
Factory.
Yeah. And then you're going to have your switch panel over there, so that's going to work out great.
And if we're not given a good enough explanation, there's a guy named Paul F. on YouTube.
Paul F. on YouTube. Okay. Go that way a little bit. Yep, right there.
And it'll self-locate once you attach it to the rear bracket.
No, that looks good.
There's no screws visible.
Now who's this guy? Isn't the Paul guy, right? The Paul guy made the other one.
This guy is his name is Speeder, and he, like I said, he's on Honda Talon side-by-side forum.club. No, hang on, it's Honda side-by-side club.com.
Okay. And that's just a forum on the internet?
Yes.
Okay. But there is another guy that makes these too, right?
Yeah, but he quit making them.
Okay. Because I knew you wanted one, but then he couldn't get it or something.
Making them, so.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, we're going to get a time lapse going. We'll show you what we got going on. So we've been time lapsing for a little while. Ended up cutting these gussets off. They're just little pieces of tin. Same thing over there. So see that. Ended up, as you've seen on time lapse, we got roof bars. Oh no, they're going straight in here. They're about a foot apart. They're not up there right now, but basically got one there, and they go straight back and forth. He's working on that dash relocation for the switches. He got it in, looks great. A little trimming on the switches to make it just a little bit wider, is a little tighter than we liked, but you have to extend this harness, maybe like 1 or 2 wires. Two wires. So he's pulling off the little clips. I don't know where they went. Yeah, them little tabs where he's going to reuse those. He wants to save them. Just use a screwdriver and a pick. So yeah, he's sitting here following directions while I'm over here making this. So, little gusset, nice little notch. Basically, you can see here, we got some marks. Basically, that will line up there. So I might have it upside down. Yeah, that's it. So basically there'll be a gusset there. There'll be a similar gusset up here in the windshield. I haven't made these yet, so haven't got that far. But basically something like that up there. Take the tubing belt sander and knock that down. He's really dying for me to cut him a spider web for right here, but I really just want to be easy as can be and just tube it. But hey, I don't need your 2 cents there, Bronco.
Spider web.
No spider web. We'll see. I doubt it.
Spider web.
Anyways, other than that, we're gonna, after we get it back to powder coat, we have a nice interior light running along here, which will shine down onto the driver and passenger and the dash. But yeah, that's what I'm doing over here. Here's actually the second piece notched. Let's see, we'll get it out of here. So basically, this is how they come out of the notcher. Let's see if it'll focus. A little bird up. And then I just take it over to the belt sander and just go around it real quick. And that's basically it. But I'm just trying to duplicate this one. No, I haven't checked it yet. You guys see me pull it out of there. Should be pretty close. And this one might have left a little bit long. I just take a rough idea. And I also haven't rounded it on the belt sander. So you'll see that it's a little bit longer right there. But we'll see what it looks like after it goes through the belt sander. And if it's not right, I just slide it back in here one more time, lock it back down, and just lightly go through it again, and it'll clean it up, and it'll be good. But that's what we're doing, making big old messes, but this is what she does. So this was 2 notches at once, basically, for the roof bars. Alright guys, so I just went ahead and ran this thing over to the belt sander. I haven't done nothing else to it. You can say, I mean, she's right on both ends. So that means our marks were good and the notch went right through where I wanted it to. So I'm gonna call that same length, same notch. We're good to go. So I'm gonna keep cutting different notches. I'm just test fitting them and then marking them where they go, and not really welding anything today because I gotta mount my big bender. I don't like that little bender over there on the bench, and I'll show you why in a second, but this is my big bender. Look at this. So this bender right here is good for like this. You guys can take it how you want. I used to use one of these and pack it full of sand, the pipe full of sand, so it didn't get these so what happens when you bend a pipe with that is it crushes it, and that's why I've always used the other bender, and that's why I sold my bender like this. Now to build some handles, I didn't have a way to bend 1-inch tubing, so I went and bought this, and it works fine for that. When you get to this big tube, every time I've ever bent 1 3/4 in it, this is what it did. This has got a roller here and a roller here, and I basically bought this thing just to straighten my cage, and it worked great for that. But this bender, this die here, it's got an outside die and an inside die, and it don't let it bend, don't let it collapse. So we're gonna bend the windshield, the lower windshield bar, and the rest of the stuff tomorrow. But that's no go. She collapses pipe. Alright guys, so we just bent this windshield bar. I wanted to just show you the difference in the bends. Okay, you can see that's a nice even bend. Nice even bend. And then you bring it over to this thing and you see how it's all crushed and caved in. You just, that's why you just don't use a Harbor Freight bender. Now, I knew that, but it was already sitting there. And I didn't really feel like digging this out. Because
mounting it to the floor
and mounting it to the floor and everything else. So now you see how much nicer the bends are. I mean, they're big difference. There's no, now obviously you just wipe that off. That's where it slid through. My die's a little bit dirty, but I mean, it's pretty gnarly. And back in the day, the only way I could ever get that to not cave in is tape the end of the pipe and fill it with sand. And I did that to build some tube fenders on a Jeep, and never again. And so I sold that bender, but I needed it to do 1-inch tubing, which 1-inch tubing on that thing isn't bad for them hoops I did on my cage. But I don't have the die for this bender for 1 inch. I got 1 3/4 inch. And the die set's about $500, so it's just, you got to use it a whole lot for it to be worth buying, you know. So the bender, I want to say this bender, this contraption here at the top without the die is maybe, I don't know, $350 to $500. I don't really remember. And then you still have to buy the dies, you know, and you could easily spend $2,500 on the bender and just a couple dies. So you got to use it a lot for it to be worth it. But just wanted to show you that. Got the time lapse going over there somewhere, right there, so you can kind of see us bending this pipe and playing around with it. So Alright guys, so we've been doing a few things off camera here. Did lunch and whatnot, but we got that bar in there. You've seen us bend that. Got her notched in here. And she's tacked. So I'm pretty happy with that. We're still got to put intrusion bars on here, and we'll go back to time lapsing. But we're going to start, once we get these intrusion bars cut down to size, now that this piece is tacked in, we're going to start burning in all these bars and these supports. So you'll see that coming soon.